What's up, y'all? It's Spro. I'm just jumping here at the beginning of this episode to give you guys a quick announcement, and that is that we have a giveaway going on, and this is for Uncanny X-Men 213 and a CGC 9.2 white pager classic Sabretooth vs. Wolverine cover. Also a newsstand copy. If you want to be entered to win this slab, all you got to do is comment down below. Let us know your favorite X-Men. Whoever it is, doesn't matter. Just name it your favorite X-Men character, and that will enter you in a chance to win. Winner will be announced, not next episode, but the episode after that. So 2 weeks from now. So I believe this is episode 5. Episode 7 is when the winner will be announced. So you have until then to comment down below. Let us know who your favorite X-Men is. All right, this episode, we give a full complete review of Deadpool and Wolverine, as well as talk about Torpedo Con, so I hope you enjoy. Catch you guys later. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to episode 5.
Yeah, issue 5.
Issue 5.
Episode 5.
Of the Comic Room Pod. Today, we actually have a big episode. Our biggest so far, for sure. We literally just got back maybe about an hour ago from watching Deadpool and Wolverine. So we'll have a spoiler-free review, and then we'll go into a spoiler review because there's a lot to talk about there. We'll also be talking about Torpedo Con. That was this past weekend. And
drum roll, what are we doing this weekend?
We're going to SDCC, San Diego, the mecca of cons.
Unexpected tickets fell in our lap.
Yep. So couldn't pass it up.
Nope.
Leaving the wives behind and going to San Diego for the weekend. So jam-packed week.
Yeah.
And the Patreon, it was probably where we'll talk about Torpedo the most.
Yeah.
And just our experience. But we'll talk a little bit about what we bought and general thoughts about cons in general. And so, but as always, we have show and tell. Oh, yeah. So my mic arm is like, I'm missing the screw here. It's supposed to clip in, but I do another podcast with my wife, and I have to take the microphone off, and I lost the bolt.
You got lost in transit, so now you're getting a biceps workout.
So, yeah, exactly. So, show and tell time.
Yeah.
We're going to skip news this week. There is news. There was a Joker trailer. There was another trailer, but we'll skip it.
Yeah.
Because this is the important news right here.
Yeah. We got to talk about the Wolvie head.
Yeah, we'll get there.
This is not a Sabretooth head. This is Wolvie head, but we'll let you tell that when we get there.
All right. So show and tell, why don't you go ahead and kick us off?
Show and tell, and this is all Deadpool and Wolverine themed today, as you can tell.
Yes. And to be if you're watching this and you haven't seen the movie yet, none of these are technically spoilers. We hung all these up before. We chose the books before as like speculation. So everything here is kind of like what we thought would be in the movie, or honestly I got that. What is that? Marvel Comics Presents 72.
Yeah.
Like I was just scrounging for 73. Yeah. For any Wolverine X-Men related slabs we got. So
yeah, I left my Hulk 181 at home. So
oh yeah, unlucky. But anyway, sorry.
Kidding.
Show and tell.
Yeah, show and tell. So it's no surprise by now. This has been out for a while that X-23 appears in the movie. So I'm not spoiling anything with that. And so I'm bringing my NYX, or that's what I hear people call it, but I always refer to it as Nyx. So I'm not really sure, but NYX3. Which is the first appearance of Laura Kinney, who then later becomes X-23 and then Wolverine. And the story behind this, by the way, I mean, I think this is not a surprise to anybody, right? This in our community, this book is well known. I'm certain of that. This is not an obscure book. I'm not breaking any news by telling you this is like did you know the first appearance of Laura Kinney X-23 is Nyx 3? No, you all know this. But 2004. Anyway, but the story behind this for me is that this was the very first book that I bought via Instagram, and it happened the night we got back from going to, I believe it was WonderCon together. And we came home, and I was still had some budget left over, and was in a buying mode, and I had been looking for this book and didn't find it, and I got home, and you texted me and said, hey, check out It was Diamond collect was it Diamond Collectibles?
Yeah.
I've bought a few things from him since then, but he had this up there in a 9.4, and you said you should make an offer. He takes offers, and I did, and he accepted it, and that was the first one I bought, and not first of many, I have to admit. But anyway, it's a cool cover and a very cool character, and as we all know, the actor who played Laura Kinney in Logan, the little girl, appears as a young woman now in Deadpool and Wolverine. So just a cool book, very thematic for the day, and I have to believe that X-23 has a future in the MCU.
Yeah,
because she's a great character, and they brought the actress or actor back in. So,
yeah,
and of course she's alive and well and doing great in the comic arena too. She just had Deadly Regenesis has just finished up, I think. So anyway, X-23, Nyx 3 for you X-23 fans.
Yeah. So I got my copy here, right behind me.
Yeah, it's a 9.6. It's everybody, just so you know.
So we got it at the same time. Oh yeah, for audio listeners, his Nyx 3 is a 9.4 white pager. So what happened was Diamond had listed both of these books on separate posts, but they listed the 9.6 and they listed the 9.4, and I snagged the 9.6, shot an offer, got it, and then I messaged him that the 9.4 was there, and he was like, 9.4 is kind of like your number. Like,
I like 9.4s.
As you can see, the Dazzler right behind you, like that's a 9.4. Like that's just kind of what you were getting, which is impressive. Like the books that you've had since the 80s.
Yeah,
that's a high 9.
They're coming back in 9.4s. Yeah, it's great. That means I did my job. I pulled them off the rack, and I kept them, in near mint shape all these years.
Yeah, you moved how many times?
I can't even count.
Yeah, exactly. So
all over the country.
Pretty impressive. So yeah, Nyx 3, great book.
Yep. Okay.
Thanks for showing. All right, this next book, I talked about it last week during our Patreon, which was just a mess of a Patreon episode.
we got the giddies.
Yeah. So I'm bringing out. I can't hold both my mic and two hands on this lab, but this is my copy of New Mutants '98, and this is a CGC 7.0 off white to white pages. Yeah. So this, excuse me. This is a. Before I started collecting again, this was like the book that I wanted, but I didn't want to buy it. I'm sure you remember me telling you, I told you, I was like, I'm not going to buy this book. I'm going to find it.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to, like, in a collection, whatever it may be, like, I'm going to find it. So, I was like, always checking Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace for collections. And I found this one guy had a collection. I think he wanted like 300, 350 for it or something like that.
How many books?
Oh man, it was a few hundred.
Yeah.
I don't remember, but he lived about 20 minutes away, so I went to his place, and he said they weren't his, that he had just helped an older couple move, and they gave them to him as like a thank you. And he was like, well, I don't know what to do with it. And so he was selling it. So I didn't know this was in the collection. So I got there and I looked through the collection a little bit. But what I did know was that the guy who gave this to him strictly was collecting X-Men books. Like it was
in the 90s.
Yeah, it was like 90s X-Men book, and that's it. So yeah, I paid him, threw it in my car, called you on my way home, and I was like, just bought a collection. I think this could be in there. Like, come with me or come over to my place and we'll go through the collection together. And
that was fun.
Yeah, so we did. We just kind of went and just pulled stacks. They were not bagged and boarded. They were like, some of them were just bagged. But
anything could have been in there.
Yeah, it was literally like a tub, a bin, and just comics thrown in there. And so honestly, the fact that this is a 7.0 is impressive.
Yeah, I know it is. And that it was in there even, really.
Yeah.
Know? So obviously it had not been cherry picked.
Right.
Because if it was, there's no way because that by far is what would you say it's one of the most valuable books in the 90s,
Yeah.
bar none, and it would have been cherry picked away.
Yeah. Definitely probably the most valuable Marvel book of the 90s.
Yeah, I think so. I have to, pull up my handy dandy Overstreet. I'm like the only guy who still uses that, but I like it.
So, we were at my house and we were looking, and actually that Hulk 340 right there was also in that collection. So if you guys remember a few weeks ago, I talked about how I had a Hulk 349.8 and I sold it. So I still have this copy, and that was in the same exact collection.
These two in the same collection.
Yeah, those two were together, and I think there was a few other. Oh, there was a first Cable.
Yeah, 85.
Yeah, or 87.
87. That's right. 86 is the first Liefeld. 80.
I haven't graded it yet, but it's still raw. So I was pulling books out of the bin, and this was face down. I remember.
Right.
And I picked it up and I turned it over and I saw it and I was in shock.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't believe it. I had manifested this, and I don't believe in any of that junk.
Yeah, but there it was.
But there it was.
You just had done your work. Like you that wasn't the first collection you looked at. You had gone to some pretty scuffed places, like meeting people in storage unit, weird stuff like that. And you paid off for you. Also, the first Gambit was in this collection, but that one had some water damage, right?
Oh, right. Yeah, that did have water damage.
But just
it
to
was
say,
bad. Yeah,
it wasn't. This collection was not picked over, which is kind of the come on, you guys, that's a collector's dream when we all dream about that, right? Like someone says, oh, I don't know, I found this box in my grandparents' attic, I don't, you can have it or whatever. You don't want to rip people off, but I mean, whatever, it comes to you and you're just going through it and you realize I'm looking at a box of comics that hasn't been, it's a virgin box of comics. Like it hasn't been looked at in 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. And who knows what I'm going to find.
Yeah.
And that's what you got with that.
I think it was two bins, I think, or maybe three. It was for sure two.
Yeah.
And I remember I had just looked through them at he worked at an auto shop in a junkyard.
Yeah.
And I had looked through them and I gave him an offer, a reasonable offer. I wasn't taking hundreds off. I think it was $25 less or $25 to $50 less than what he was asking.
Yeah.
Because for me it was they can come home with a bunch of dollar books or
in a way that's it's an interesting way to have done it too, because had you been given the time or taken the time or whatever,
right,
and picked through, and you couldn't because it would have taken hours. It took us hours.
Oh, it took us hours.
But to go through every single one of those stacks and those big, huge plastic bins, then you would have known and cataloged everything in there. And now it's I know you're an honest guy.
Yeah.
You're not gonna give somebody an offer and rip them off. So you would so doing it the way you did allowed you the opportunity to score big, but also the opportunity to have not done well. But that's, I guess, the way, maybe the most fun way to do it.
Right.
Would do that way.
I believe his asking price was $350. I think I offered him $300, and he just said, meet me in the middle, $325, and I said sure. I mean, that essentially pays for those two books. The rest of the books I don't own anymore because they were all dollar books. There's random, I kept some of the Silvestri X-Men covers, and
there was some Marvel Age stuff. Those Marvel Age books had odd first appearances and previews of things in those books. There's some of those books I remember.
I want to say I probably have about 10% of that collection. I think I put all the dollar books and I sold them to a comic shop. Yeah. And I was just I'm going to get rid of these.
Well, that's a smart play.
Yeah, and then I kept obviously those. So, the comic shop got the picked over version of what I got. So, so that's our show and tell. Keeping it relevant for the theme of the week.
Definitely for the theme. And by the way, have you noticed our lovely attire here?
Yeah. So I got the Deadpool shirt.
Wolverine. It even has the yellow and blue.
Oh yeah.
And this is not a new shirt. I've had this shirt forever.
So I was actually when I was getting ready, I was like, does Bob have a Wolverine or a Deadpool shirt? And I was like, no, he probably doesn't. So
I actually had forgotten I had the shirt.
There it is.
I wasn't sure what I was going to wear. I'm like, man, I don't know. I don't think I have anything that's specifically that. I've got some plenty of those shirts. But then I remembered I had this shirt, and I remembered it was the yellow and blue, and I'm like, oh, this is awesome.
So and then I got the blue light behind him and the red light. So we're just
I'm team Wolverine. He's team Deadpool.
Even though I like them both, but yeah.
Right.
All right. So the show and tell. So do you want? Let's just go into the movie.
Yeah.
And if the movie takes us all the time, then all of Torpedo Talk will go into Patreon, and that's fine with
Yes.
me. So
how do we do this without spoilers?
So we'll just kind of give our initial reaction
Okay.
up front.
All right.
And then when we're done with that, then we'll warn everybody.
Okay.
So this is normally we have like a soft outline. We don't even have a soft outline right now.
It would be more fun just to have a almost in real time, pretty much real time reaction podcast to the movie.
Yeah.
Because that's the biggest thing that's happening this week by far.
I was going to write down like okay, let's go through like, each part of the movie and this and that, and we'll talk about it. And I was like, you know what? There's people on YouTube that are going to do that. Like, this is just what's
fan reaction.
Yeah, what's been sitting with us since we left. And so, so I guess let's start off with this thing. So this isn't the AMC version. We don't have an AMC where we live. So this is
good.
this is just...
Is that going to be your Halloween costume?
I had to get it. And I got it for you guys. I'm not giving it to you guys, but I got it to show you guys, really. I saw this and then I was like, no, I'm not going to get it. And then I took a step and I was like, I have to get this. I have to bring it to the pod. So
look, it's a bank. Turn it around. It actually functions as a piggy bank. It has a slot to put your coins in.
So Wolverine is back, baby. So
yeah, they're offering a deal. If you spent this thing was $25, but if you spent $27, so if you bought that and whatever candy bar or something like that, they would give you a gigantic, the big popcorn. So that's what you did. You and Dare did that. Deb and I, I didn't notice that, and we weren't getting popcorn, so we didn't see this. So we got our stuff, which was chips and some candy. And then I'm like, oh, what is that? How did you get that? And so we go to our seats, and we're halfway to our seats. I'm like handing Debbie the candy because I'm going back because I want one.
Yeah.
but because what I was thinking it was if I bought a big thing of popcorn, that I would get that. But what it was is, no, you got to buy this. And then if you spend a couple more bucks, then we'll give you the big thing of popcorn. And then I was like, I don't know. So
how much was it?
It was $25. But it makes sense. So that makes sense if
wait, so you didn't just buy it and no popcorn?
No, I just didn't
you should have just done that.
I was like,
I guess.
I mean, we had enough. I suddenly got chintzy. I don't know why, but I just that's all right. But, you have one. It's in the family.
Man. All right. So we'll go spoiler-free reviews.
Okay.
I'll go first.
Okay.
Because you went first with the thing. But yeah, so I thought it was great. I think this is the movie. Deadpool is always self-aware. The one thing that I really liked was that he was even self-aware about the state of MCU. And so I think just when you kind of go in there with that type of confidence, it's just it makes the audience feel a little bit more comfortable, like, because that's essentially the studio telling you, like, hey, we know things haven't been great, and this is how we're going to start to make it right. So I thought that was like, when he said that, I was like, happy, I guess.
I realize we're not he's telling Wolverine like you've arrived at a sort of a downtime right now.
Something at like a low point, and he goes, welcome to Marvel. You've kind of
welcome to Disney. Right?
Yeah, welcome to Disney. And then you're kind of entering at a low point, and then he just kind of shrugs. I thought that self-awareness was great, and then as always, like Deadpool's self-awareness with other things, as always, it's either for you or not for you.
Yeah, a lot of fourth wall breaks.
Yeah. I thought that it was just as a whole, I mean, kind of bouncing off what I just said, like, I think it is a really good step forward. I'm glad that this is the only movie they're releasing this year, because that, again, also kind of shows, like, hey, take this. We're going to figure out the rest and how we're producing these things. A pretty, like... I would say that in some ways it was a tragedy. Like that story. It didn't. Well, yeah. Just because the whole premise of the movie is about the state that we're finding Wade and Logan in, and it's just like very Shakespearean. It was like a comedic tragedy, and that's just kind of like what I kept thinking. And I thought that they handled just what they were going through each respectively like really, really well.
With Deadpool, it's like they took the since you mentioned Shakespeare, the comic relief, the jester, the court jester,
Yeah.
and they made him the protagonist and made his story a tragedy while he still remained the comic relief.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting paradox.
Yeah. Great cameos. If you can, stay off social media. I mean, it's Monday, so I'm going to assume a good amount of you have probably seen it by now. But if you're listening and you haven't, hopefully you haven't gotten it spoiled to this point.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've made it this far without getting it spoiled, just stay off social media.
Yeah.
It'll be worth it.
We'll warn you when we start doing spoilers.
Yeah, it'll be worth it. So yeah, overall, like, great. It's kind of hard to talk about the rest without spoiling, but I would say I really liked it. I'd probably give it, Kevin Feige said before the movie came out, I think he said this like earlier this week, or this past weekend, he said, if Endgame is a 10 as far as importance for the universe and Infinity War is a 9 as far as importance for the universe, then Deadpool is an 8 as far as importance to the universe.
By universe, you mean the universe that the characters inherit?
The cinematic universe.
Or the franchise?
Probably, I guess both.
Yeah,
but
it's definitely important for the franchise.
Yeah.
I mean, they need a win.
Yeah.
They need a win. And they're going to get a win. This is going to be a win.
Yeah. And I mean, next year's lineup is we have Captain America, Daredevil Born Again series, and Fantastic Four next summer. So
Yeah. And somewhere in there, we'll get Agatha. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
For better or for worse.
yeah.
Fingers crossed,
So, yeah, overall, I would say like, as it stands right now, I'd give it like probably like an 8.5.
Okay.
Like,
Right.
I want to say 9, but there was a couple of things that I felt like I had to like suspend my disbelief a little too much on. Where I feel like sometimes like you have to do that for superhero movies, but sometimes there's things that the universe can do to make it make sense. And I feel like I can't call them to mind right now, but I remember one time I had the actual thought to myself, like, you could have done better with that. But yeah, so 8.5, it might drop down. I don't think it'd go lower than an 8 because I feel like it deserves a B, but I could definitely see it going up after a couple rewatches for sure.
Yeah. So full disclosure for me, up until yesterday, I hadn't seen any Deadpool movies at all. Not Deadpool 1, not Deadpool 2, not X-Men Origins Wolverine. Nothing.
Yeah.
And that was intentional because as we've alluded to in other podcasts, I'm not really a Deadpool guy, and looking at the movies, the previews of the other ones, they're rated R, and that like you said, either Deadpool's for you or it isn't,
Yeah.
and it isn't typically my kind of humor, my kind of movie. So I just didn't, I just figured out it's okay. That's just one franchise I just haven't really didn't feel like I really wanted to watch. But we're doing this podcast, and this is the, like we've already talked about, it's the biggest Marvel movie of the year, not just the summer.
The last few years.
Yeah, and so have to do my due diligence and my research, and so I watched Deadpool 2 yesterday actually, and so to kind of get ready for this one here, and so this is what I'll say. It is going to be a huge success. It's going to be a huge movie. The audience absolutely loved it. They if I was a producer of this movie or a director of this movie and I was just sitting in the audience gauging the audience response, I would be stoked because the audience laughed at all the right places. I felt like the emotional beats of the movie really they were earned and they paid off. And again, we'll talk about specifics later, but I felt that they walked that fine line between humor and emotional impact. I think did a really good job with that. I loved Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. I've always have loved Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, and he just delivered. And I believed the anguish that he felt that we saw from him in the movie. It was real. And Ryan Reynolds is a genius. I mean, the guy is a comic genius. Like There's no doubt about it. Like he is as true to the character of Deadpool, from everything I understand about Deadpool, as he's amplified it even.
Yeah.
But he's done what most actors wish they could do, which is they've assumed a role and they've been so good at that role that now he is Deadpool.
Yeah.
Kind of like what Chadwick Boseman was for Black Panther. We talked about that a few episodes ago. And all right. So it's for me, I had some difficulty with the crude humor. It's hard. I'm an older, I'm an old head or whatever, but a prude or whatever. Some of the humor went, a lot of the humor went too far for me. But knowing what I know now about Deadpool, what I always kind of knew, but that's the character. Like it was true to the character. So, but as far as the story of the movie, and first off, for fans of Deadpool, it's a home run. It's extremely entertaining.
Yeah.
The music, the Deadpool humor. If you like Deadpool humor, you're going to get a lot of it. The fourth wall breaks were hilarious.
Yeah.
I really loved that. I loved all the cameos and surprises. That was so much fun. The Easter eggs, all those things. We love that about Marvel movies, and that was definitely like they had that in spades, I think.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, the payoff, the emotional payoffs for both characters were really, they really came through and they delivered. And I also really liked the villain.
Yeah.
I liked her. I mean, I don't say like I liked her, like she was likable. I liked the way she was portrayed. Every scene she was in was a favorite scene of mine.
Yeah.
So here's what I'll say. For the Deadpool fans who love Deadpool, I'm with you. This is a 9, is an 8.5 for me personally. I'm not even going to put a star on it because I don't really, I don't think it's fair because I'm not the target audience. It's a good movie for Marvel. Marvel's going to be really happy about this movie. They're going to make a lot of money, and it's probably going to cost me a bet. We'll talk about that later. But it's going to be a huge hit for them.
Yeah.
And so I was afraid I was going to really not like it because of how just what I've described.
Yeah.
And that wasn't the case. It was like, I had moments where I was like, okay, enough with the humor. Let's,
Yeah.
Can I just say one thing that, and I know everybody who likes Deadpool is going to go, well, dude, it's a Deadpool movie. What's your problem? Okay.
Yeah.
But this is my main thing. Aside from the other stuff I said, it's hard. I guess maybe it's just me, but it's hard for me to make the switch over from the real slapstick comedy by a character who can't die, literally can't die, to these moments where suddenly, they want me to really take it seriously and care. Like and then they kind of vacillate back and forth.
Yeah.
And that's hard for me because I guess I just don't change gears that way as much. But the funny thing is though, having even said that, I still did care by the end. Like the payoff at the end was really it hit the right beat. So anyway, that's my take on it. If you like Deadpool, go see the movie. You're gonna love it.
Yeah.
If you're worried about it's R-rated and crass humor, don't go see it because it has a lot of that and you won't like that.
Yeah.
But you know what you're getting. It's an R-rated Deadpool movie. Don't go in with your eyes closed. You know what it is.
Yeah, I would say the as far as the R rating goes, the first movie was by far the worst.
Yeah, and I didn't see the first one.
It's probably on par with the second one, maybe a little bit more. I haven't seen the one in a while, so maybe like a little bit more jokes than the second one. But I feel like why, at least as far as my memory is serving me with Deadpool 2 and the joke number in each one, I feel like this one, it was amped up a little bit because Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios has to say, hey, we know that you guys loved these movies, be it Logan, which was R-rated, or Deadpool 1 and 2 R-rated. So we have to show you guys with gore and jokes that what you guys liked about the past, we're not Disneyfying it.
Right.
So I wouldn't be surprised if in the future, there's kind of like a little bit of a break on it.
Yeah.
But they obviously have to come out swinging because they have to show the audience what you guys got before is what you're gonna get. You're not gonna get a Disney-fied version of Deadpool, which I think is important when you're honoring a character.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Especially when you're like, especially to Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman.
Yeah.
Like, for them as characters, or for them as actors playing these characters and them wanting to do the best that they can with these characters, they're not going to want to say like, well, our last performances, you know, we did this and now we're bringing the bar down. Like, I'm not sure that I want to get back into that.
Right.
So yeah, not only is the studio kind of
That makes sense.
easing the audience's mind, but also probably part of the deal of getting the actors to come back.
Right.
So yeah, I would say probably the jokes are a little bit more amplified than 2 as far as my memory goes. Yeah. Not as crazy as a movie as Deadpool 1. What I think I explained it to you, and what my wife and I talked about was Deadpool 1 was essentially like a indie movie. Like they were not given a big budget. Allegedly, it was Ryan Reynolds who leaked the test footage on Reddit or 4chan or whatever it was. Yeah. The test footage blew up. It became crazy. So Fox was forced to make the movie. And
wow, that's a great story.
Fox gave them a pretty tight budget and said, go make your movie. We don't care. Like,
so they just turned them loose.
So it was essentially just like Ryan Reynolds and the writing team were like, all right, let's go.
Well, you know, to be fair too, at least, you know, the humor, you know, it's crass.
Yeah.
You know, it's the language. That's where the R rating is coming from.
Yeah.
It's all innuendo. There's no nudity. There's no
right.
There are no love scenes or anything like that in the movie. It's all, you know, it's kind of locker room talk kind of stuff, basically.
Yeah. So, that's our spoiler-free reviews.
Yep. It's tough to not spoil it.
Yeah, it is tough. So if you're listening or watching now and you haven't seen the movie, I'm going to put the time up here where you can fast forward to where you're safe from spoilers. Audio listeners, I'm sorry, there's nothing I can do for you because I don't know when we'll stop talking about it. So, if you're on YouTube, there's going to be the little chapters at the bottom, so you can just scroll to the next chapter. But I will put the timestamp up here. This is your final warning. We're getting into spoiler territory. Leave now or fast forward. Go watch one of my other videos. Don't leave me, but if you don't want to get it spoiled, and I don't want to spoil it for you.
No, we don't want to spoil it for you.
This is your final warning.
Spoiler alert!
All right?
Spoiler alert!
Spoiler alert! All right, you are now in spoiler territory.
Yeah, spoiler territory.
Now in spoiler territory. All right, first thing I want to talk about is Henry Cavill. Oh my gosh,
that was so good. I forgot about that one.
That was so good.
You audibly gasped. Joshua was sitting next to me on the left, and you were like, oh, like you. I don't know if you noticed that you did it, but you did. You were like emoted in that moment. Yeah. And I'm like, are they joking? Is it really Henry Cavill? Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I mean, I just like that's been like an online something that I love about these Deadpool movies, and about I guess it's probably like Ryan Reynolds, and because he is heavily involved in the creative process, which I love so much. Like I don't know if you saw, he was the top billed writer. When it showed the writing team, he was the top billed writer. So he is heavily involved into this process. And something that I love about him and what he's done in the movies is he is so tapped in to the internet culture. Like whether it's him actively on the internet looking or he has a team who's searching, I don't know. But he just knows, he has a pulse on what's going on in the internet. And I think that is how you do like just such good fan service.
Yeah.
So the Henry Cavill thing has been essentially since Logan came out and Hugh Jackman announced his retirement from the character. Everybody was like, okay, Henry Cavill, like let's save him from DC and Superman and
rescue him.
So
he's not doing a Witcher anymore either.
No, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, it was, he's been a long time fan cast.
Yes.
So yeah, I just loved it. Henry Cavill has been through it, man. Like even the fact that he signed up to do this, like he's a champ because when he does like The Witcher and Superman, like he gets screwed. Yeah. Like he got screwed with Superman. He was in the post-credit scene of Black Adam and everybody thought he was going to come back. And then James Gunn and DC just like reshaped everything. And they said, nope, like
Did they call
Henry Cavill's done.
Did they call him Wolverine in the movie, or am I making that up now?
You know, he might. Honestly, I
cannot remember.
I was in shell shock that he was there.
Full Wolverine costume.
Yeah.
For an alternate universe, and there he was. It was so good.
Well, he was in the Logan.
I mean, Logan.
The Logan, like the tank top
or something.
And then, and then he got screwed with The Witcher. And these are properties that like he loves, and like when you watch in interviews, man, like hearing him talk about The Witcher, it's sad what happened.
We have to respect him because he once they departed from the books, he said, I'm not going to be part of this.
Yeah.
He's walked away from it. So I don't really know. I don't know how they're going to continue that series without Henry Cavill. But anyway, yeah.
So
that was a great moment.
Yeah, it was great. That's by far the biggest cameo in the movie. Well, yeah, I'd have to say the biggest because that was just like there was two really big ones, but I think this is the biggest one.
Yeah. For me, the biggest twist or surprise was Chris Evans because he's shows up, and what do you think when you think Chris Evans in a Marvel in the MCU? Obviously, it's Cap, and the whole thing gets set up for him to. He's gonna say Avengers Assemble, we're all and Deadpool's like he's gonna say it, and he gets ready. He's like, okay, here I go, and then what does he say? Flame on.
Yeah.
And by the way, I brought my little Human Torch over here. He becomes prominent. He
It was unplanned. You didn't know.
I had no idea. No, it was completely.
You had
unplanned.
packed your car before you left for the movie.
But so Chris Evans is there, but not as Captain America, but as Johnny Storm, and it was classic. That was a moment.
Yeah, that was really good. I just keep running through the comic book accurate Wolverine scene was so funny. They actually made him 5'2". It was just a shorter Hugh Jackman.
Yeah.
And it was hilarious. It was so funny. And that again is like the type of thing where it's like people on the internet, there's like a certain type of comic book movie fan. And like this is one of them where they're like, they complain that Wolverine's not 5'2" in these movies. Instead, he's like a 6'2" Australian, Hugh Jackman or whatever. And I just love that they put this in the movie because it's like, and I don't remember the exact joke that Deadpool had made, but it was essentially like, here you go, here's your comic book accurate or your comic accurate Wolverine.
Comic accurate Wolverine. That's what he said. He called him.
And you just see how ridiculous it looks.
Yeah.
Like, obviously they it's CGI. Like they had to put Hugh's face on either a shorter stunt double or if the whole body kind of looks CGI. So but comic book movies, you can't go one-to-one comic to comic book movies.
You can't.
They're totally different forms of media, and some things correlate better on page, some things correlate better on film, some things correlate better on animation.
Well, like Guardians, they had to. What were they supposed to do with Ego, the living planet? They just made him. They put him in a human body.
Yeah,
Kurt Russell's body. It's the only way you could do it, and that was one of the biggest problems they had with one of the iterations of Fantastic Four was they never really could show Galactus because they didn't have the technology to do it correctly. So all you see is this cloud, and it was such a letdown because wait, you brought the Herald of Galactus. And we're being told that Galactus is coming, and then in the end, all we see is this misty cloud. What is this? It's like, come on.
Sometimes they do well, sometimes they don't. I'm not saying the studios get it right all the time.
But that's what I mean. Like you have to, you can't. It's good that you recognize that you can't always stay accurate to the comic book. Like I would not have had a problem if they just made Galactus, give us a normal sized version of Galactus,
right?
So that he fits in the scenes.
Well. Even Galactus, he's massive on the covers, but then when you look at him on in the pages, he's just the size of the half the size of a building or he's not actually they draw him to size in the pages, but on the covers they make him look larger than life.
Right.
But yeah, when they're fighting him,
and nobody wants to come on. you really want to watch a 5'2" Wolverine run around the screen?
Yeah.
It doesn't have it's more of a visual medium than the comic books because it's a moving medium.
Yeah.
And it, you want the big presence of,
Yeah,
Wolverine.
they'll probably who knows? Like maybe the next actor's like 5'5" or whatever, and it's like it'll work. But I just love the emphasis on the ridiculousness. Like sometimes this isn't always going to be best, and what we got is what's best for now. And the next character might be shorter, might not be, but it's like what we got is Hugh Jackman, and Hugh Jackman's great. So
I feel. Yeah, maybe Henry Cavill's the answer, but whoever does follow Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, that's gonna be tough because he also made that character himself in the same way that Reynolds has done it with Deadpool. I mean, he's how did he get so jacked for this movie? How old is Hugh Jackman?
Oh, he's in his 50s, right?
I mean, okay, I'm in my 50s. And I don't look like, I know it's a big shock to you guys, but I don't look like Hugh Jackman. And I don't care if he won the genetic lottery or not. The dude's in his 50s, but he's yoked up and looking like someone would be happy to look like in their 20s.
I mean, he's roided up probably.
Yeah. Well, let me get some roids then.
But I was telling Dara, you don't just take roids and you're jacked.
No.
You have to put in the work. Roids are just it's a boost and a boost to getting big.
Yeah.
But you don't just start injecting steroids and then all of a sudden you're the Hulk.
So I won't turn into Hugh Jackman if I just.
I don't know. Let's try it.
See you in 6 months.
But I believe I could. I mean, I might be speaking out of turn, but I believe he's on roids or testosterone, whatever the new.
Yeah. Not to disparage you, Hugh. if that's what you're doing, I don't care. I mean, you're not competing in the Olympics, so who cares?
Yeah, I believe Liam Hemsworth was. I mean, to be Thor. Yeah, he's. But so unrealistic body standards for men in their 50s.
Yeah, I feel very insecure all of a sudden.
Okay, I would say the second biggest cameo in this movie, which you may or may not agree with. I don't know, but I think as far as I only say that because I don't know how tapped in you are into the kind of
not as much as you.
But I think the second biggest cameo in this movie was Channing Tatum as Gambit. That was a movie that was, as far as I know, was in pre-production. He was cast. There was scripts, and the movie just never ended up getting made. And Channing Tatum had always just talked about his love for the character and just how cool he thought the character was. Which I mean, honestly, it was so cool to see a live action Gambit like that. There was that Gambit in one of the, I think it was X-Men Origins or I don't know, one of the other ones. Yeah. He was not cool. This Gambit was cool. Yeah,
that's why he was saying all those lines I never got a chance to be who I was supposed to be, and all those lines were related to that. Okay. Yeah, I did not know that. But he was great. And full disclosure, in X-Men 97 was my first real introduction to the character of Gambit. I mean, I obviously knew he existed. From the comics and all that, but I was never really a big X-Men reader. But the New Orleans accent that he has in X-Men 97, Channing Tatum busted that out, and this movie did a great job. And they even made kind of fun of the fact they couldn't understand a word he was saying.
No, there were genuinely times where he was talking, and I was like, I don't think I understood a word you just said.
No, that was cool though. And when he was throwing those cards, he had that. He had his little what do you call that? I don't want to say stick because it's such a newbie thing to say. But what is it? Staff.
Yeah, I'm not also. I'm just generally not well versed in X-Men lore, but it looked like it was the cards, but I don't know. I could be wrong.
Was Psylocke in the movie? Was she in that battle? I thought I saw the whip.
Yeah, I thought I saw it too. And then there was that girl in purple, but I did not recognize her at all.
Okay.
Because Psylocke wasn't in the original X-Men, and Olivia Munn played her in X-Men Apocalypse. So unless she was a voice actress, I don't know.
So I did, when the movie was over and the lights came up, I didn't want to leave. I was like, Where's Dazzler? Where's Dazzler? I'm invested.
Yeah.
I'm invested here, and I'm invested in our bet. Where's Dazzler?
Yeah.
There was no Dazzler in the movie.
No.
Swifties, I'm sorry. Everybody who picked up Dazzler 1.
You're going broke.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's going back down to...
Yeah, it's going to come back down. I don't really think X-Men 130 ought to come down much because it's a great book. It's a great cover. And Dazzler is a very popular, well, moderately popular mutant in the mutant Marvel universe. And its first appearance in the Byrne Claremont run. It's a good book. Don't sweat it. Don't worry about it. Just hang on to it.
Yeah.
You don't have to run and dump it. Just it's still the first appearance of a character that's around. So
I think people might dump it. Because I think for people it's either going to be like she's in this or she's not. And yeah. But that's not to go against any of the good reasons that you just gave, but I feel like for the speculators out there,
if it dumps hard, I'll pick up a couple copies.
Yeah.
I will. If for no other reason, so that I can turn a profit on it without selling the one that I bought as a kid.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I did. People were saying, "Oh, you should sell this on the run up." Because I remember we talked about speccing last time. Buy when it's hot. Sell when it's hot. That would have, if I followed my own advice, I would have sold this 2 months ago. But I'm breaking the cardinal rule. I have a sentimental attachment to that book.
Yeah.
So it's hard for me to sell. But if I picked up a couple other ones, hey,
Yeah. Yeah. So Taylor Swift was either going to be in this. I don't think she'll be in anything else in the future. So it's kind of like this or bust. That's at least my perception of it. I could be
just hard. Yeah.
Totally wrong. That's not to say that Dazzler's not going to make
read
her,
the room.
her appearance.
There's so much there was such a fervor about it. You would think that they could get together and make something work.
Yeah.
To make some money off of this.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that Taylor Swift should be headlining a major motion picture. I don't know if she can act or not act, But hey, Olivia Newton-John did it in Grease in the 70s, so if she could do it, anybody can do it, right? But no shade on Olivia Newton-John, but she was a singer, and they put her in a movie, and it was a huge success.
Yeah,
maybe they could do that with Taylor Swift as a headlining thing, or maybe she just who knows? Stan Lee's vision for Dazzler was that she would make records as Dazzler, like they would, someone like. Some kind of disco queen, Donna Summer type would be, I don't know. But anyway, yeah, you're right. It's probably not going to happen now.
I don't think it'll go back down to what it was before. I think it'll come down. Probably not. It probably won't come down as little as you want it to, but I don't think it'll go back as low as it was before.
What's gonna tank is Dazzler 1.
Yeah, for sure.
Because
yeah,
there's a gazillion of those out there. Do you remember when we were at the comic shop at the mall?
Oh,
it's not there anymore, but they had an after hours. The mall was closed on
auction.
a Saturday. They had an auction after hours in the shop. It was really fun.
Yeah,
and we had a good time. And while we're sitting there, the owner of the shop, Jay, he's like, he just gave everybody there a copy of Dazzler 1. And there were probably, what do you think, 20 of us there?
Yeah.
And he's just there, you want a copy? And he's just walking down the aisle handing them out.
Not like 4 O's.
Like candy.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I think somebody that could fill the Dazzler role is, you might be familiar, an artist that's blown up in the last year and has blown Taylor Swift's, like, her record holding, Billboard top 100.
Really?
She's just blown her out of the water. Her name is Sabrina Carpenter.
Okay.
She's got that song.
I never thought
That's that me espresso.
I never thought I'd be so out of touch musically with the pop culture as I am right now. But please keep singing.
So she's
sing it again.
Her name is Sabrina Carpenter.
I have heard the name.
She has she's been holding a few of her songs have just been holding the top 5, top 10 spots on the Billboard Hot 100. And it's forced Taylor to release remixes of songs so that she goes into the top. So they have this really interesting, I would say the rivalry has been attributed to them. Well, Taylor Swift has been responding with releasing music, but I'm not the biggest Swiftie. I like her country stuff. but the pop stuff I don't care for. She's like remixing songs and re-releasing them, but it's like she'll do like an acoustic version. But people online have found out that it's the same exact vocals, just over an acoustic instrumental. So it's not like a
not actually a new
not
song.
an actual like an acoustic,
not a new rendition.
So people are like, she's just petty because she's like this other artist is pushing her out of the top 5, top 10, and whatever.
Interesting.
But anyway, she's blonde, and she started out as an actor.
Okay.
And she's dating one of the best actors right now, Barry Keoghan, who he's Joker in the Batman.
Oh yeah. Okay.
She's dating him.
All I'm saying is Stan Lee's vision for Dazzler was a convergence type of pop culture phenomenon. He imagined it would be a crossover comic book character and recording artist, whatever his vision was. And that's a hard sell in 1979 or 78 when Dazzler came out. Not so much now though. Like because we saw it just in the hype about the possibility of Taylor Swift doing it. All these Taylor Swift covers in comics start showing up. How they managed to do that without a license, I don't know. But that's another day. But even Dazzler Dazzler. I'm still doing it. Even Taylor Swift played along, saying, "Oh, it's dazzling," like in one of her lyrics, all that. So I think it's been demonstrated that the setting is right for it now. It could happen. So maybe it's this other artist. Yeah. So it could be that, or maybe like along the lines of what you're saying, like they're just going to cast a kind of find an up and coming artist that's not really popular yet and be like, hey, will you be this persona and release records? What if I just did that? What if I just said, I'm going to go ham on this. I'm going to get a stack of X-Men 130s. I'm going to buy them all on the way down. And I'm going to get them. I'll buy them raw and press every one of them for me. I'll get newsstand versions only. And just like make a decision. Every newsstand version that's above a 9.0 of X-Men 130, that's less than whatever the price I tell myself, I'm just going to pick it up and just do it. I feel like you've said this about other books before, and you have yet to do it. Yeah, so. but I like that book. I like that book. I guess we'll see. All right, enough about Dazzler. Come on, let's keep talking about it. Some other cameos. Wesley Snipes is back. That was Blade. Huge. That was cool. You also reacted to that. You started clapping. Yeah, and other people joined you. Yeah. I mean, dude's got his trilogy. Blade is just like. David made a joke about it. See, this is the type of self-awareness that I love. He said, I don't know. I don't remember what the first part of the dialogue was, but they had. Were they talking about other people that had played? Who was it? I don't remember. I just remember the line. Yeah, they were talking about like other characters who have had other actors, and then. Wesley Snipes as Blade. What was it that he said? He said, "I never liked you much anyway." Oh no! That was the other line. He said, I think he said something like, "There'll never be another." Oh yeah, I'm the only. Yeah, there is another Blade. I'm the only Blade. Yeah. No, I think he said. Yeah, he was talking about the future tense. So he was. Because he was making a joke that the current Blade movie has been in development hell for years. So I think he was essentially... That's awesome. He was saying like, there's not going to be another one. Well, thinking back to what you said last episode, I didn't want to interrupt you in the movie, but I almost elbowed you and said, all right, I admit it, Blade is cool. Right? Yeah, he is. It was really cool. There was one thing that he did in the movie. I don't remember what it was, but I almost elbowed you and said, see, he's cool. Yeah, I know what it was. It was when he was doing shooting and he turned and he just shot his weapon and the guy went flying. And he's like, and he had some kind of a pose, and I was like, yeah, okay, so that's pretty cool. So they made a self-aware joke about the development hell that this Mahershala Ali Blade movie's been in. They did also make another joke. Ryan Reynolds was in the Blade Trinity. I think he was in the second one or the third one, and there's reports that him and Wesley Snipes just did not get along. So to see him in this movie with those reports was kind of funny. Yeah. And Blade had made a joke to Deadpool, and he had said, "I'd never really liked you
anyways, or
Yeah.
something like that. And so, yeah, kind of playing on those. Whether or not it's true, I don't know, but that's what the reports were, that they didn't like each other. So, I mean, it still could be that they don't like each other and they just filmed at different times.
So does this mean that Wesley Snipes can come back into the States without getting arrested by the IRS now or whatever? Because that was the deal back in the 90s. He fled the country because he owed back taxes.
Oh, I'd never heard of this.
Yeah, he just split.
Wow, I wonder what he got paid for this.
He's like, you look at his IMDb profile, and you're going to see there's a period. Is that camera turn off over there? There's a period. Hang on, we're looking at the camera. Yeah. So anyway, you'll find a gap in his in movies that he's made, and that gap exists when he's literally in exile, not allowed to make Hollywood movies. So I'm glad to see him back on, hopefully back on U.S. soil and not running from the IRS or whatever.
Yeah. Elektra.
Okay, Jennifer Garner was on screen a lot.
Yeah, she was.
For the type of enemies they were fighting, it was pretty cool to see Elektra holding her own, because she's not an Omega level mutant or something
Right.
like that. She's got ninja powers, and she's got a couple cool knives.
Yeah.
But she's out there, fighting it out with crazy mutants and winning. So I thought that was good.
Yeah. So we knew that was like a leak it was like a leak that was confirmed in the trailers, because she wasn't in the trailers, but like parts of her were in the trailer, and it was obvious that it was like Elektra type wear, or at least like her style of Elektra. So we do got the Daredevil poster. I got this last week off eBay. I wasn't thinking about Elektra being in the movie when I bought it, but he did get a nod. Daredevil.
Yes.
Punisher also got a nod. They got nods in the sense that basically like Cassandra Nova existed in the void and was kind of like enslaving people who went down there and giving them some sort of like protection. And then there was like the outcasts of like other people who had made it, and they were
hiding from her.
Yeah, they were hiding from her. And Daredevil and Punisher, and I want to say somebody else was also named.
Oh man, I can't remember. I just remember in the Daredevil when she said that somehow another Daredevil didn't survive something or other. And she's like, "It's okay."
Yeah.
I'm like, ooh, that's cold.
Yeah, ex-husband, and
That's rough.
Ben got no love.
None.
That's actually where the line came from, because they had said Punisher had went over to go take down Cassandra, and Deadpool said, "Which one? You guys have had like 5." And then it was like shortly after that. That's when Blade had said that line about him being the only one, and there's not gonna be another. So
That's great.
yeah, I think that's it for cameos. X-23. I mean, she was revealed in the trailer in the last.
You did score on the Blake Lively.
Yes.
She's never comes out from her mask, and for a time, both you and I thought the voice of Lady Deadpool was Taylor Swift.
I thought that was Taylor.
I thought it was, but there it was in literally black and white when they rolled credits. Lady Deadpool, Blake Lively.
Yep.
So you never see her face, and you're thinking you're hearing someone else's voice, but it's her. She's Lady Deadpool.
We also got the Hulk. We did get a Hulk 340 homage.
Yes, we did. That was a cool moment.
Yeah, and it looked like the MCU Hulk, but it wasn't. They didn't bring any Hulks back for the homage because that scene was very quick, and they go to a different universe. But remember what I had said on why I didn't think they were going to bring Mark Ruffalo's Hulk was because we have Smart Hulk, and if they give us Mark Ruffalo's Hulk as Hulk, people are going to be pissed. I would be pissed.
Yeah.
Because it's like, why is this now like a teaser or like something that we get on like the side? We have to deal with the stupid Professor Hulk.
Yeah, no, you guys have to. You made that bed. You got to lie in it now. Mark Ruffalo, you are Professor Hulk. That's what you get.
And so that they did exactly that. They didn't show his face, but the green color looked like Mark Ruffalo's Hulk, the shade of green. So I think there was really like one over the shoulder shot. But yeah, it's pretty early on in the movie, and Deadpool's hopping through universes looking for a Wolverine, and he sees that Wolverine in that brown and yellow suit, and he goes, classic John Byrne, brown and yellow. Weren't you fighting Hulk in that suit? And then Logan's claws come out, and then in the reflection you see Hulk, and then there's like a quick...
Yeah, it kind of freezes for us. Just gives you like a little of the camera move so that you make sure you don't miss it. You know, they give that moment a second to breathe.
Yeah.
That was cool.
I was actually just really hype about the Hulk 340. Did they do a 181 homage at the same time?
No, I looked for it.
And that over the shoulder shot? Okay.
I didn't see it.
Okay.
Because if they did it, then I think you win the bet.
Then it would be...
Because right now it's 2-2.
It is 2-2, yeah.
And the fifth one was a wash. So we're 2-2 with the tiebreaker. The primary tiebreaker is, will the movie gross $1 billion? So I feel like I should just concede at this point because it's going to gross $1 billion.
No,
there's no way it isn't.
We'll write it out. We'll write it out.
You know, I think it will at this point. But
yeah, I mean, I think it will, but
I mean, I'm not rooting against it. I want it to.
Yeah.
Because like I told you before, I want Marvel to have a success.
Yeah.
I want Disney, Marvel to right the ship and make some good movies, and they can't do that if they're having lemons.
Right.
And this is not a lemons movie. Is going to make a lot of money from that.
Yeah. So to kind of counterpoint you earlier on something that you had said about just the kind of caring about a character that could never die and that kind of stuff. So, which you did say, like they still do a good job at like tugging on the heartstrings when you get to the end of the movie. Mm-hmm. But something that like I've always like, and you see it especially in the second movie, is just like how like he tries to commit suicide so many different times in that second movie. He wants to die, but this time around, the depth, they added so much depth to the character, because the second one was, my life sucks, I don't want to live anymore, I want to kill myself. He can't do that, and he fails every single time because he just keeps regenerating. But this time around, it was, okay, I've tried that doesn't work, my life still sucks, now I need to figure out a way to get out of this.
Yeah.
And that was just like his whole arc for the movie was, this is the hand I've been dealt, and I'm gonna have issues, these mental issues, these deep soul issues, and I need to figure out how to deal with it. And so, he tries to join the Avengers in the beginning. And we get a Happy Hogan cameo,
who just smashes his dreams to smithereens.
Exactly, yeah.
And then he goes off to be a car salesman.
Yeah.
With a toupee.
And so, yeah, you just see a lot of like that, just him fighting for life is really what it is. Like,
I think, yes, I agree with you. You had said it's a tragedy in a lot of ways. They definitely found a way to take this very, snarky character, which is Deadpool, and they were able to make him relatable, because who out there can't relate to what his character's essential desire is and fear is, which is, I'm never gonna matter.
Right.
And we get that from his own musings. We get it later from the way why he ends up losing his wife that he finds a way to save, from the time thing. And then we of course get to see it when Cassandra Nova goes into his brain and reveals what,
Yeah.
So I think if we're all honest with ourselves at some point in our lives, when we're all by ourselves, we maybe are thinking, is what I'm doing, does it matter?
Yeah.
It's the essential question of all literature, right?
Yeah.
Like, does my life have any meaning? And Deadpool has to look in the mirror and say, no, it does not.
Yeah.
And that's the beef that his wife has with him. that ends their marriage in the storyline. She's like, I can't, I can't be with you.
Yeah.
Because you've just given up. You didn't get into the Avengers and you just quit. And there's nothing wrong with selling cars if that's what you want to do. But he's given up on his life. That's what selling cars means to him.
Yeah.
So absolutely, at the end of the movie, when they're all back together at his birthday party, and his I guess ex-wife now is there, and Wolverine's like, talk to her, come on, give me the dog and talk to her, talk to the girl, and he says to her, she can tell that he's changed, and he says to her, I did it for you.
Yeah.
That was a really powerful moment. That's what I was referring to in the non-spoiler part of the movie.
Yeah.
It still kind of gets me when I say it, because that's a major character arc, and it's a universal character arc.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
So I thought I agree with you that it's more than just crass jokes and funny, which people are happy to go see a movie and laugh. Like, laughter is a great thing, but it had a lot more to it than that.
Before we went to go see the movie, Dara and I watched the Hot Ones episode that came out this morning that had Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds on the same show.
Those guys are such good friends. You could tell.
Yeah. And so Sean Evans, the host of Hot Ones, asked was asking questions. And this was, first of all, they had the worst tolerance for heat. After the first wing, Hugh Jackman was like, "Oh, this is spicy," and it was like, "Oh, brother, you're in trouble." So then when the bomb came, it was hilarious. But yeah, they're tolerant. I mean, a Canadian and Australian, I don't know what type of spicy.
I would have thought Australia, they eat Vegemite down there. Come on.
So one of the questions that Sean Evans had asked Ryan Reynolds was, I think it was something along the lines of. He said, you've said in the past that money and time are like the biggest oppositions to creativity, or something like that. And he said, can you expand on that? And Ryan's dying over over the heat, and then he eventually gathers himself and he says, yeah, it's always spectacle over character. He said these movies, they throw so much money. When there's a problem in the movie, they just throw a bunch of money at it, and they just big CGI and all this stuff, and they kind of leave the characters behind. And he's like, but I've always been a big believer in audiences will remember a thing that a character did or a thing that a character said more than anything else in the movie. And I mean, that's so literally, you look at the last few MCU movies and how bad the CGI is because they had to do it last minute. So they had to throw, money and get it done last minute, and it's not good. And then the plot suffers for it because, it's all these last minute changes and
you don't care about the characters.
Right.
They get, like you said, they get lost in the spectacle.
Yeah.
And
like Ryan said, not me.
Yeah, well, like Ryan said, and I mean, it doesn't get much bigger of a spectacle than a movie with a budget that Deadpool 3 or Deadpool Wolverine had, but it doesn't lose it. It has a lot of humanity to it. Like when I said earlier that there's the emotional payoffs at the end, they don't feel forced. They feel they've been earned. It feels like they've been earned. Those moments have been earned, and I was surprised. I didn't expect that. Honestly, didn't. I really didn't think that was going to be a part of this movie at all. And to be honest, the first 45 minutes or so, I was pretty sure there wasn't. Like it was all slapstick and all that.
There was a lot of fan service in that first 45 minutes.
Yeah.
The cameos.
Yeah, and I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Part of it was fun. But as far as the character stuff, it just wasn't there. But the second half of the movie absolutely delivers that.
Yeah.
And not just for Hugh Jackman's character, who's always tragic. Like Wolverine in every universe is tragic. You know, he's the loner who is a hero in spite of himself. Yeah. And like the line that Laura Kinney says to him, so good they repeat it in the movie a couple times as Hugh, or as Hugh Jackman, as Logan is thinking about where he stands in this whole conflict. You're not the right. He's like, I'm not your guy.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not. Well, I'm the wrong guy. And Lois says, yeah. Well, you always are until you're not.
Yeah.
Great line.
Yeah.
And he's sort of the unwitting hero, and who two characters that are indestructible.
Yeah.
Who better to have kind of the messianic story of where they have to die to save the universe, and yet get to come back,
right?
Because they're indestructible.
Yeah.
But in the case of this movie, they really did believe they were dying. Like they were told, even you will not survive rescuing this timeline.
Yeah.
This will cost you your life.
Yeah.
So that was a cool moment.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Yeah. And this is the last thing I'll say about Deadpool, because I feel like we should talk about Wolverine too. These are the last two things I'll say about Deadpool. On that whole topic of like getting lost in the spectacle, and his statement on the characters and what characters do and what characters say will sit with the audiences longer. I feel like this is the first movie since No Way Home that there's actual character developments in the movies. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think of other movies that have come out since then, and they're all pretty forgettable. So like, what is it? Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah. Ant-Man 3.
Ant-Man. There's no actual like arcs in those movies that are like, we all remember No Way Home because of what Peter went through.
Right.
Like he suffered so much in that movie, and at the end of it, he comes out almost like a rebirth in a way.
Yeah.
And yeah, I feel like this Deadpool and Wolverine both had huge arcs.
Even the Miles Morales animated, part 2 of the trilogy, very much a character arc story.
Yeah,
Miles is trying to figure out where he stands in the universe.
Yeah,
and he's trying to grow up. It's all that stuff.
Yeah,
and that's why those movies do well.
Yeah, we did get a Thor cameo. This is the last thing I'll say. We did get a Thor cameo that kind of what you were alluding to, that is pointing to the future of Deadpool, and his kind of what's going to happen to him. We don't know, but it was essentially like it was on a TV screen, and it was Thor holding, as far as we could tell, a soon to be dead Deadpool.
And in tears.
Yeah.
Thor is in tears, and
and for the rest of the movie, there's like 2 times where Deadpool goes to sleep or is like knocked out or something, but he wakes up and he goes, "God of Thunder."
Yeah.
And Thor. And these are the things about Deadpool that I think are great. Like, those are jokes, but at the same time, they're not. Like, that is, it's telling of his subconscious. Like, now he's been unable to die. He's tried to kill himself so many times in Deadpool 2, and now death is awaiting him as far as we can tell. And now it's like kind of all he's thinking about.
Yeah, interesting.
And he's having, nightmares or good dreams. I guess we don't really know. But I don't really think you wake up from a good dream and you're like,
no,
donuts and coffee out. Like, I don't know.
No.
You normally wake up from bad dreams and you're like,
and you're in the middle of saying something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So clearly this is something that's plaguing at least his subconscious.
Interesting.
But Wolverine, we'll talk just a little bit, and then we'll end the regular part of the show after. Yep. So, I guess first we'll talk about, they addressed how are you going to handle this character with how great of a send-off he had in Logan. And honestly, it was the only right answer. Like, what did he say? He said, "We're not," or
we're not going to worry about like not messing that up. We're going to go ahead and mess it up.
Yeah, exactly.
As he exhumes the body,
which was sick, by the way. His skeleton, just the whole adamantium skeleton was super sick. Yeah, and Deadpool uses his bones to fight TVA members, and so it's again, it's one of those things where it's like, they're creating a new version of the character, and people are still going to compare it. So, you have to make a joke out of it in the beginning, or else people are gonna think you're taking it too serious and you're trying to match up.
Yeah, they just addressed it, and they you know,
It's self-deprecation is what they did.
and it was just funny because he's Deadpool's like, I'm gonna. They've underestimated the power of a regenerative, mutant.
Yeah.
And so he thinks he's gonna discover that he's not really dead.
Yeah,
and
he
the whole
goes to
thing.
the burial site from Logan.
Yeah, and of course he's a skeleton. All that's left is the adamantium, and it's pretty
Yeah,
gruesome.
no flesh.
Yeah.
No flesh.
And that
Just-
lets you know, okay, so we're like you said, self-deprecating.
Yeah.
It was good, and then we can just move on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I some people, the Logan enthusiasts will not like it, but it is what it is, and I think that they understand that. I think that's also part of it. Is they understand that some people are just not gonna like what they do, and so
Right.
for those people, you're never gonna please those people. So I think that's the whole idea. Is
Yeah.
like, well, look, we're not gonna make you happy because we're doing this, and in a way, like this is just kind of messing with what happened. But Hugh Jackman's on board with it, so we're fine with it, and
It just feels natural though, because this is what the multiverse is.
Totally.
Like, so what? So there's innumerable Logans running around,
Right.
And one of them happens to look just like the other one, and
Right.
and kind of be a loner, and have some similarities, and we're just gonna go with it.
Yeah. Before we get into the kind of Wolverine's character, Patch makes an appearance.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah, he does.
So I believe this is the first appearance of Patch. It doesn't say
It
here,
is.
but I'm probably gonna sell this book because it's a 9/8 white pager. So
Yeah,
be on the lookout on your Instagram consignments.
great cover.
Yeah, beautiful. I have another copy. I don't need a 9/8. Kind of like the Hulk 340. Like an 8.5 is gorgeous.
Yeah,
Like that's high grade. Sometimes we get lost in the sauce with the high nines, but
yeah.
8.5 is still pretty impressive. Like you said last week, like the difference between 8.0 and 8.5, there's a big drop off there. So
Yeah, but 8.5 and a 9.0, no, not really.
Yeah.
I've seen 8.5s that I'm like, how come this isn't a 9.4?
yeah, exactly.
So,
Yeah. So yeah, probably saw this thing, but it was cool seeing Patch. People had thought, because we saw the back of Patch's head in one of the early trailers, and so people had actually thought that it was going to be Daniel Radcliffe, because Daniel Radcliffe has been a name that's been thrown in the could play Wolverine bucket because he's short, he's got that scruffy look about him, but it wasn't. It would have been cool.
Yeah,
but,
that would well, and he could still show up, but yeah, it was just fun to speculate, right?
Yeah.
Who's going to be there, who isn't? That's a big part of the fun.
yeah. So
The Logan character was great. Hugh Jackman just hasn't missed a beat at all, and he's very tragic, as you said. It's a tragedy for both of these characters,
yeah,
and but it's tragedy with a redemption arc versus tragedy with no redemption arc,
Right.
which is also iconic. But this was nice. I loved the way. For most of the movie, he just hated Deadpool.
Yeah.
He's so like, will you please shut up?
Yeah.
There were times when I was like, yeah, shut up, Deadpool.
I don't know. This might be a hot take. I don't really know, but I'm so on Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. Like, I don't think that the older X-Men movies are like great, and I don't think, to me, he's not like a standout in those movies. I think he looks really cool. Like, I think his beard and his hair, like, he looks great. But it's never been like this. I'm like fighting a sneeze and also trying to say my next sentence at the same time, but the sneeze isn't coming.
Yeah. Not going to happen.
No, I don't think it's going to happen.
But you're not looking at him as he's channeling Wolverine from the comics in the same way. Like he's
not irreplaceable to me. Like there's absolutely characters that I'm like Ryan Reynolds is Deadpool. It's gonna be a hard recast.
Yeah.
I don't know how they'll do it, when they'll do it, if they'll do it, but it'll be a hard recast.
Yeah.
I just think, I think that there's characters out there. I mean, we saw a snippet of it. Like, Henry Cavill looked great as the Logan, but not to say that I think Hugh Jackman's bad. That's not what I think at all. I think especially in this movie and especially in Logan, he's just a standout, incredible actor. But for the other X-Men movies, I haven't seen the Wolverine movies since I was younger, so I can't really recall. But I did rewatch the X-Men movies like a year ago or so, and it wasn't anything like crazy to me. So I say that to kind of attribute to, or to kind of, I guess, parlay into my Hulk 181 opinion, that it's like, this character is not, the Logan character is really cool. The rest of the movies from the 2000s it's like, okay. So I don't really understand why this movie is so great, because it's not like this character in the movie is insane. But as soon as he got in the suit, I understood.
That was so good.
Like,
oh man,
it made sense to me in that moment. And that's something like we haven't gotten to the point. That's something they joke about a lot in the movie. And yeah, I think it was just at that moment that I really understood the Wolverine hype, where I was like, oh, he looks sick.
Yeah, he was that. There's a moment where they're getting ready to Wolverine and Deadpool getting ready to take on everybody.
Yeah.
You know? And he reaches behind him, and I've not, the way they shot it was just so well done that I never noticed it. But he's got a hood behind him, and it's this. It's the
mask,
it's the
cowl.
mask over the eyes and the cowl. Oh my gosh. And it was just, I don't know. I can't remember what Deadpool says to him, but he says basically, I put this on for killing.
Yeah.
Oh man. Woo.
Yeah.
That was great.
It was so good. So this version of Logan, they pulled from a multiverse where they kind of allude to the fact that he's the worst version of Logan out of all the multiversal Logans. And we kind of get a little bits of the story here and there, but it's not until essentially, I mean, exactly like Deadpool made the joke of that we'd get a third act flashback. We didn't get a flashback, but as he's sitting by the campfire with X-23, he tells her what happens. And it seems like it was the first time he's actually spoken this verbally.
Yeah.
Because she was like, hey, I don't need to hear this.
He's like, I got to say it.
And then he's like, no, I have to say it. And basically he says, the humans went after the X-Men and they got him, and I wasn't there to help or to save them. And so he carries that that burden with him. But the burden is also extra heavy because somewhere earlier in the movie, he's talking about the suit, and he's talking about how Charles always wanted him to wear the suit because he's part of the team. But Logan didn't want them to know that he cared. He didn't want them to be like, to see him as somebody who's like, oh, I want to be part of this team.
Yeah.
And so he had to be just like the edgy, off to the side guy. And now, when Deadpool found, or when he had passed out drunk after drinking that bottle of whiskey, and Deadpool goes to pick him up, he sees the suit under him. And so Wolverine's like, now he's never taking that thing off.
Yeah.
Like he's wearing that as like probably just like a lot of like trauma reaction of like, I let them down, and
like penance almost for him.
Yeah.
It was so great how they made that relationship that he's mourning with Charles Xavier and the rest of the X-Men come full circle when he's kind of makes an alliance with Cassandra Nova.
Yeah.
Who's Charles' twin sister says, yeah, he would have loved you too, because she says to him, Charles loved you.
Yeah.
And he says to her, he would have loved you too.
Yeah.
And he would have fought to rescue you from this place or whatever.
Right.
It was. That was really powerful.
Yeah.
That was, and it moves Cassandra too, who up at this point is a stone cold, wicked
killer,
witch of the West, kind of thing. And she softens in that moment, and I thought that was really a nice moment.
Yeah.
Suddenly he's helping other people, have some catharsis.
Yeah. So I think to kind of go back to not understanding the hype on Wolverine and the Hugh Jackman hype, the X-Men movies, they weren't really about him, but I think people were probably just really excited to see Wolverine. And then the Wolverine movies, again, I hadn't seen them since I was younger, so I don't really remember. But so I'll speak on what I do remember, and that's this movie and Logan. He like thrives when like the story is on him, and he's so good at just honestly just conveying a range of emotions: anger, grief, rage. You think in Logan, like sympathy that he has for X-23, because he's also a product of essentially being a science experiment. And just for him to have like a place to run, essentially, where he can just go all out into the character and a different side of the character that we haven't really seen. It was really good. That really is the only other way that like you could kind of take the character following Logan, is he let everybody down. He's not the Rock that we thought he was, because he was the Rock for that whole Fox X-Men universe.
And the storyline for the character arc for him in the Fox universe, and even in Logan with Laura Kinney, is, you know, what he passes on to her at the end is, you do not have to be what they made you to be. You know, which is a killer. You know, you're Weapon X. You are only made to kill things. And so what we hear about his story on his universe is that, you know, when he fell into grief because he let the X-Men down and they all died, is he went and he killed everybody. And he's like, and Cassandra's like, oh, you killed all the bad people. He's like, or maybe it was Laura said that. He said, not just the bad people. And then I'm the reason that the humans turned against all the mutants, because I became the monster that they assumed I was. And which is really kind of the monster he was made to be. So it was, again, that same theme of, you know, you can choose to not be this way. You can be, there's a humanity to you. You know, and that was just a really nice piece of the movie.
Kevin Feige said that following the multiverse saga, it will be the mutant saga. So once they wrap up with Secret Wars, the whole multiverse stuff, it'll be mutant.
Wow.
So I'm not really sure what that means as far as like our Avenger characters and Fantastic Four characters. Because it's really only until like 2027, 2028, I think, is the 2 years for the Secret Wars movies. Maybe even 2026, 2027. I'm not too sure. So even that puts like a short time for the FF. But I don't know. They could do like acts, Avengers vs. X-Men vs. Eternals.
Who knows?
Eternals. I don't know.
Come on, Eternals too. What's up?
So, it'll be interesting to see. Maybe, I honestly don't know what to expect. The bar is pretty low as far as X-Men movies go. Aside from Hugh Jackman as Wolverine,
they've already done the Dark Phoenix story a couple times. They can't. I can say they can't do it again. It's a great story, but you know.
Kind of sucks because it sucks because it's like you want to see it done like really, really well. And you know that they're capable of it. So that kind of stinks, but I'm not too sure where they'll go with it, what they'll do. Obviously, really, the only bar that they have is Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. Aside from that, like Patrick Stewart was great, but you know they did a recast on a younger version, so it's not going to be impossible to recast an Xavier. They diminished the character of Cyclops in those movies, so it's not going to be hard to give him his flowers when those movies come around. So there's a lot for them where it could be, it'll be easy for them to get through the door and give a lot of fan service and to do right by characters. But I just, like I said earlier, I don't know much about lore, so I don't know what storylines they could go down.
Yeah, there's a lot.
They can't overlap what X-Men 97
that's
is
true. They
doing
can't-
and what they're gonna do.
No,
So-
they can't do that. The Mr. Sinister stuff, that's going to be that's the X-Men 97. So yeah, I don't know.
But this is the story of the X-Men. X-Men went into reprints. So reprinting and
they can
remaking
reprint the Dark Phoenix story,
exactly. So
to speak.
this isn't foreign to the X-Men title.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. If they did another trilogy that told, at least in part, the Dark Phoenix saga, would you go see the movies?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, me too. And I wouldn't even think twice. I mean,
No.
I'd be stoked for it. So we're probably not alone in that in the universe of Marvel movie fans. So I don't think they should be daunted by the fact that that's been done. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's so good.
I don't know if this was a quote based on. This is a Kevin Feige quote, and I don't know if he was saying this specifically about Wolverine or about the X-Men as a whole, but the quote was something along the lines of, "It'll be something that we haven't seen before." I want to say that he was talking specifically about Wolverine Logan, but he could also be talking about X-Men. The tweet didn't give context, or at least not that I remember. So,
Well, there's a lot.
yeah,
They have a lot they could pull from.
the 90s. I mean, they were
Yeah, there's
cranking
a
out.
ton they could pull from.
Yeah.
My goodness.
They had like 5 different X-Men version titles.
I'm more
X-Force.
curious. Yeah, what they're going to do with the Fantastic Four, but we'll talk about that on another day.
Yeah, they
Well, plenty of time to talk about that.
the cast posted a picture today actually. Pedro, Vanessa Kirby, Eben, and that other guy who's playing Johnny Storm.
Oh yeah.
It was their first day on set, so they posted a picture of the 4 of them.
I really do hope they make it a period piece. That's what I'm hoping for. I would love them to set it in the 60s. That something about that image they released, with them and the turtlenecks, and it just was very nostalgic for me in a way that I don't know. It had a certain feel to it. I can't describe it. It's just that it made me want to spend time in that room with them.
Yeah,
I wanted that setting, so that would be great.
yeah.
You know.
Did you have any final thoughts on Deadpool and Wolverine before we exit out of spoiler zone?
No, I think I've said everything to say. It's again, like I just reiterate, if you are a fan of Deadpool, if you like that character, and I assume you are, if you've gotten this far in the podcast, you will like this movie.
Yeah.
You will definitely. It's going to deliver on the things that you like, guaranteed. You don't hesitate.
Yeah. All right. Spoiler free zone now.
Okay, spoiler free. No more spoilers.
We're good. No more spoilers. Let's just for like 5 minutes. Let's talk about 5 minutes. Will probably be like 10, but
Okay, can we talk about the last scene of the movie real fast? No, I'm just kidding. See if they're paying attention out there. Sorry.
5 minutes. Let's talk about Torpedo, and then we'll dig into Torpedo
Okay.
in the Patreon segment. But we walked away kind of
and
feeling
almost
the same.
empty-handed for me, anyway.
Yeah, pretty much. So I think that this, if you're a fan of the channel, I've been nothing but transparent about how I feel about cons and con prices and con sellers. And look, I also want to say this. I use the word sellers a lot as a generalized statement. I want to be clear that, like, especially as far as Instagram goes, like 99% of those dudes are good dudes.
Sure.
Like,
Yeah.
it's very few that I think are like actually like kind of scummy.
Yeah.
As far as like interactions at cons, I don't know how many sellers were at Torpedo Con, but in my vlog that I came out with today, I confidently showed 3. Only 3 sellers in that vlog. And I recorded at almost every booth.
Yeah.
And these were the guys with the best prices who were kind, up to market.
Yeah.
And so there was other good sellers, but sometimes I'm going through boxes at booths, and their stuff might be fairly priced, but they might not have anything.
Right.
So I don't think it's it kind of gets cut and doesn't make the final product. But yeah, so I'm not generalizing every single seller, anybody who's ever been a seller, into like this whole thing. But I think that there's something going on with con sellers that the prices are just crazy inflated compared to what we're getting on Instagram, and even compared to sometimes what we're getting on eBay recently.
Yeah, and that's saying a lot, because it's changed, it's turned, and we can get into the reasons why, but that'll take too long. It just is a fact that I think everybody understands that. Yeah, I get it. Prices on the walls can be negotiated, and everybody understands that.
Yeah.
So it's just a bit discouraging when you look at the wall and the prices. The starting price for a book that may or may not be negotiable is so over fair market value that you kind of feel exhausted before you even start.
Right.
Like, well, I mean, how honestly is too strong a word. What are my odds of getting a good deal when the price is 30% over market value just out of the gate,
Yeah.
And I brought books to trade, and you had said I'm probably not going to be happy with that experience, and I wasn't. And the sellers and the vendors, they were looking to get as much as a 30% premium on a trade, and that's their right to ask for that. But I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
Why would I do that? Like, especially if I'm trading something with a seller who has, I'm trading books that are hot and I'm taking off their hands books that maybe aren't going to move as fast. Why isn't that? I don't mind them getting a little bit of percentage, because they're paid to be in that booth and all that stuff. But I mean, I'm almost doing you a favor if I'm giving you something that's more liquid than what you have.
Yeah, and I'll say this because somebody commented on a clip or something about the trade. I think it was on last week's episode. That it depends like what you bring to trade. Like,
absolutely.
And so 100%, you brought some pretty hot books. You brought The First Prince of Falcon in a 7.5.
Yeah.
I believe, didn't you bring your Knicks?
Yeah, I brought yeah.
Yeah. Knicks.
Knicks 3 first, yeah.
And I mean, those are
X23, yeah.
Those books with the movies, the trailers that we got, like those are books that people are going to spec on and that we've seen in a top 10 lists get bumped up.
So somebody said to me that, he actually asked me because I had a big bag. He's like, it looks like you got stuff to trade. What do you have in there? So he invited it, not me. I was just looking at his wall. And so I had the books on a list on a piece of paper, so I didn't have to deal with the whole thing. So I just gave him the piece of paper. And first thing I had to say was, well, I've got like 5 or 6 copies of each of those books. So, so I'm like, okay, that's fine. No big deal.
Yeah.
So that's fine. You don't need them. So I'm like, okay. So I handed him the paper back, and I'm just kind of getting ready to leave. He goes, oh, but so what do you, he tried to re-engage me to make a trade. And, to be honest, I'm like, I'm not trading with you now. Like, that's your negotiating position. You're already trying to knock the price down based on the fact that you've already got 5 or 6 of these copies.
Right.
Here's the deal. I don't care how many copies you have.
Yeah.
That's irrelevant. Do you want this one or don't you want this one?
Yeah.
So you telling me that, and then to me that's just him saying I'm not interested.
Yeah.
But what it really was it may or may not even been true, but it's his way of starting negotiation with, I don't really want these books.
Right.
I'm going to take a 30% premium. Also, I don't really want these books, but let's start negotiating about a price. Would you waste any time with that?
No.
And I may sound exercised right now, but I wasn't. I mean, it didn't bother me. I mean, I just went like, well, I don't think I'm gonna, And we had a nice exchange. I said, nah, it's okay. I don't need to make any trades.
Yeah.
And that was the end of that. But we talked about it at the con a little bit. I mentioned that to you.
Yeah.
So that didn't work out for me. I did though have a lot of fun meeting the vendors and talking. I met this one guy who also is a university professor. He teaches up at Cal Berkeley and Cal State San Francisco, and he teaches graphic novel, and he teaches a lot of stuff using the comic book to teach other stuff. So we talked for like half an hour.
Yeah.
Exchanged information. Talked about maybe getting on a panel next year at WonderCon. So I mean, I love that stuff. I love these guys. They love what I love, and we had a great time. So it was. I just didn't leave with a lot. I got a couple books signed. I bought a $9.8 $50 Batgirl slab because the cover was cool, and another Batman comic for 40 something bucks. I spent about $100.
Yeah.
That's about it.
we had two totally different comic buying experiences.
Yes.
I'll talk about mine in the Patreon segment because we got to wrap up here. But I would say you and I, we walked out of there, we grabbed dinner, we headed back home, and we kind of had the same feeling. And that feeling was we understand that there's a premium and that there's a value for the premium that you pay when you go to a con.
Mm-hmm.
Compared to Instagram, the you can pay the premium because you get to see the book in person. You get to handle it, you get to see it. You get the whole con experience of like you're shoulder to shoulder with other collectors. You're meeting people. You're not at home. You're IRL. Mm-hmm. You know, it's you're in person and it's a good time. And our thought walking out of Torpedo Con was, well, the price to pay for that these days, it's kind of losing its value. Like, it's not worth paying the premium for, like, and it's not because books are priced 10 to 20% higher. Like, the books that I got, maybe I could have gotten a better deal on Instagram. I'm actually not sure, but maybe I paid 10, 15, maybe 20% more than I would have got on Instagram. But it was fine because I got to talk with the owner in person. Cool. He was really cool. He had incredible books at his booth. And I had no problem paying what I paid for those books. Like, I didn't walk away regretting those purchases because a lot more came with it. And obviously there's value to me because I vlog at these cons, but man, with these prices and a lot of these booths were super inflated. Yeah. It was just like, I just don't know if it's worth paying to go to these things anymore. Yeah. So that's the question. And then funny enough, 2 days later, it's like, hey, we have an opportunity to go to San Diego. Like, do you want to go? And it's like, yeah. Ding, ding, ding. And so it's like, man, do we even have a backbone when it comes to this stuff? But
we're not. Our convictions went right out the window.
But like, San Diego is a little bit different. It's a little bit different.
It's the spectacle. I'm treating it, I'm going to treat it like a museum. Experience. Sure. Yeah. That's what it's going to be.
I have books on my list and I'm going to go in there and I'm going to vlog as I normally do. And I'm going to record and I'm going to hunt for some of these books and, we'll see what happens, but I'm excited. But, I saw another, as these two guys, they posted their Torpedo Con haul on YouTube.
Oh, okay. Cool.
And I watched it. One of them you would recognize actually, cause he works at the shop, out by where you work.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And they did like here's what I bought, and they both said like it was kind of pricey in there, and I was like, yeah, look at that. Yeah. And then there was another dude. He's probably in his 60s. He was vlogging because I was
right on.
I was Let's go. Dang, you go, bro. And he had a vlog, and he had friends that were vendors, and he kind of celebrated them a little bit, and then. He had also mentioned that prices were a little expensive, and he was kind of just there to see his friends. He bought some books. He didn't buy anything crazy. Yeah. But
I mentioned in your vlog about the experience, so I'll just reiterate it here real fast. I had said the night before Torpedo Con, man, I don't want to spend any money in the claim sales because I want to save it for the convention. Well, I'm halfway through the convention the next day. And I'm saying the same thing in reverse. Well, I don't think I'm going to spend any money here because I'll save it for the claim sales. Yeah, because I'll get it. I seem to be able to find better deals than I do in the cons. So.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll go to LA Comic Con because it's local and it's not. We don't have to get a hotel. It's a little bit of a drive, but it's no biggie. Yeah. But like going to WonderCon, spending all that money for a whole weekend, like the value is probably just not there. And the value for these trips to make it to these cons is just not really there. Like Torpedo, we may or may not go next year. We'll kind of see how we feel then.
Yeah, I don't know. I like the real small ones, the regional ones. Yeah. There's the comics and cocktails one, and then there's the other one that we went to the
year ago.
the day after I got back from 7 weeks in Italy.
Oh, right. Yeah.
You're like, you want to go to a convention? I'm like, oh my gosh, there's no way I'm going to be able to do it. And then I wake up the next day, let's go.
Yeah.
You know, I
Yeah.
barely remember the drive because I was still in Europe time.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, that was, and I love those because you can go through all the boxes because it's not that big. So you can go ahead and find some really cool stuff.
Yeah. And you're not going to those shows to necessarily buy like a grail. Like most time you're going to those shows, you find a cheap slab that you think is cool.
Exactly.
You're filling runs or kind of just like middle range keys.
Yeah.
But you're not going there. You're not buying ASM1 and AF15 or
No.
ASM 129 even.
Probably not. No.
Yeah. Unless it's like a lower grade version, but
it's a lot of fun. Those are fun. I'll never not want to go to those.
For sure, yeah. And especially they're close.
Yeah.
Like Torpedo is still a bit of a drive for us.
Yeah.
So
we got to get some out here somewhere.
yeah. So yeah. Off to Patreon now.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for watching. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna have to cut this to the beginning. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this content. Share it with another collecting friend that you have. And we're going to be doing a giveaway. This was supposed to be in the beginning.
Oh, yeah. So, nope.
All right. In the spirits of Deadpool and Wolverine, we got this here. X-Men 213. CGC 92 white pages, doing a giveaway. All you got to do is comment on this video. Let us know your favorite X-Men character.
And then we'll do a drawing.
I
think that's the first time that they fight on a cover. I'm sure of it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So yeah.
First Sabretooth Wolverine battle cover.
Yeah.
And
Newsstand.
a really, really good cover, man.
Yeah. 9.2 newsstand. Who's the cover artist? Alan Davis, Paul Neary, cover.
So how long will we wait before we close it and then do the drawing? A week? A week from drop or?
Not the next time we film, but the film after.
Okay.
So that'll take us in August sometime.
Okay.
So 2 episodes from now.
All right. Give a chance to populate with a few more people.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll probably cut this part and put it at the beginning so that it's not a shocker. But yep, giveaway. 9.2 X-Men 213 white pager. If you're on Spotify, head over to YouTube, comment. It's not part of it because I don't know how to do these crazy deals, and honestly, I've won giveaways that I've never entered, so I don't even know how people are like. Yeah. Anyways, if you want, follow us on Instagram.
Yeah.
At Spros_comics, at Mr.Longbox. It's not part. You don't have to win the giveaway, but. We'd appreciate it.
We'll follow you back.
Yeah. Comment your favorite X-Men character, and that'll enter you in a chance to win. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you on the Patreon side.
See you later.